Please. For the NEP, the total is 26,728,529,000 pesos, with provisions for PS of 5.7 billion, MOOE 20.8 billion, and capital outlay of 101 million. For the year 2022, the Commission will tackle 3 locally funded projects. They are the overseas voting and continuing registration, the national and local elections, and the SK and barangay elections. The preparation of the Commission started for the 2022 election started way back in 2017 when it formulated its strategic plan. It only got interrupted on the onset of the pandemic, wherein in the performance of one of its frontline services, the registration of voters was in 2020. Upon the resumption of the elections and the lifting of the ECQ, resumption of the registration and the lifting of the ECQ, the Comelec passed Resolution 10674, or the protocols institutionalizing the health and safety standards under the new normal. Your Honor, please, the status of registration totals per the records of the Election and Barangay Affairs Department is 61,103,654 registered voters. This is the breakdown, Your Honor, please, of the registration of voters per approved application. 2019, 1.5 million approved application. It went down to 730,000 in the year 2020. Again, due to the postponement because of the pandemic, and went up again in 2021 to the total of 1.5 million registered voters. As to the OFOB, Your Honor, please, this is the breakdown of applications approved. In the last elections, 2019, the number of registered voters is 1.8 million. In order to make the services of Comelec readily available to its clients, they try to develop projects like the GoForm app project of Commissioner Casquejo. Also, our Education Information Department accessed several media platforms like Twitter, FB Live, and other social media. The Education Information Department also facilitated the information campaign in the field offices, and they conducted 11,671 information campaigns like radio guestings, TV interviews, and face-to-face briefings. Another frontline service of the Comelec is the issuance of voter certification. In the year 2020, the Comelec issued 1.7 million voter certification from January to December 2020. And in 2021, the Election Record Statistics Department issued 16,635 voter certifications. The Comelec also created several committees like in the year 2020, like the Vulnerable Sectors Office, and the CNNC, or the Comelec New Normal Committee. Through the efforts of the Personnel Department, Comelec lawyers were able to attend webinars like the mandatory continuing legal education of all Comelec lawyers. And as to international webinars, it was facilitated by the Committee on International Relations. Another accomplishment of the Commission in 2021 is the conduct of the Palawan plebiscite with 60.70% voter turnout. As well as to the GAD, in 2019, it garnered 40+% budget utilization, and for year 2020, which the PCW is set to approve, 50+% budget utilization. Now, Your Honor, please, for the preparatory activities, the GAA provided The GAA provided in 2021 for the preparatory activities and the regular activities of the Commission is 16.1 billion. Obligated amount is now 6.1 billion. The balance is set to be spent because the Comelec is already conducting its procurement for the national and local election. And by end of December 2021, the budget will be nil or zero. For the regular program of 2022, the budget provided is 4,538,227,000 pesos, with personal services budget of 3.6 billion, MOOE of 818 million, and 101 million for capital outlay for the implementation of the MITHI program of the Commission. This is the breakdown, Your Honor, please, of the MITHI budget for 2022. For the national and local elections, the NEP provided is 13,637,110,000 pesos. The personal services budget is 1,064,500,000. For the MOOE, it is 12,572,610,000 pesos. There is no budget provided for capital outlay. What is significant in the budget for the NLE is the budget for supplies and materials upon which the Comelec will charge its expenses for anti-COVID measures, and the provision for other professional services or payment of the election board following the requirements under the ESRA. In the 2019 elections, the honoraria given to the teacher or to the election board are 6,000 pesos for the chairperson, 5,000 pesos for the members of the election board, 4,000 pesos for the DESO or the supervisor of the voting precinct, and 2,000 pesos for the DESO support staff, including the DESO technical support staff. They also receive 1,000 pesos travel allowance, 1,000 pesos communication allowance for the DESO technical support staff who assist the DESO in case there are technical problems encountered by the election board, and service credits of 5 days. Your Honor, please, the other charges to the other professional services budget for the NLE are payment of wages and overtime of the job order casuals of the Commission, the Board of Canvassers honoraria, the DICT honoraria who will certify that at least one member of the election board is technically capable to operate the vote counting machine, the honoraria for the RMAT or the Random Manual Audit Committee, the honoraria for the Committee on Local Absentee Voting, and the honoraria for the Vulnerable Sectors Office. In the implementation of the programs and plans during election, the Comelec also formulated its risk mitigation plan, like provision of anti-COVID supplies per clustered precinct, establishment of isolation polling precincts, set up of physical barriers to separate the EBs or the election board from the voters, and establishment of sanitation stations per clustered precinct. Your Honor, please, the budget for the supplies and materials for anti-COVID measures will be charged against the supplies and materials provided under the MOOE of the National Local Elections NEP or National Expenditure Program. For overseas voting and continuing registration, Your Honor, please, the budget provided is 111,912,000. For personal services, it is 58,609,000. For MOOE, it's 53,303,000. And there is no provision, Your Honor, please, for capital outlay. For the third locally funded project, which is the Barangay and Sk Elections, Your Honor, the NEP provided is 8,441,280,000. With personal services budget of 1,444,505,000. For maintenance and other operating expenses for the barangay election, it is 7,396,775,000 pesos. By expense class, Your Honor, please. For personal services, 22%. For MOOE, it is 78%. And for capital outlay, almost 1%. With that, Your Honor, please, we submit to you the National Expenditure Program of the Commission on Elections and hope for your consideration and approval of the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Alarcon, for your presentation. Before we proceed with the interpolation, I would like to recognize my colleague, Vice Chair, who's physically present now. Beside me, Vice Chair Manix Dalipe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, in support to you and our
Maraming salamat.
agency here, the Commission on Election.
So as we have seen, the budget of the NEP budget of the Comelec has been cut by about 15 billion plus. It's very important that we dissect the budget, especially the original proposed budget as compared to the NEP level, because of the upcoming national elections this coming 2022. So to start with our interpolation, may we call on from the minority, Honorable Franz Castro for her interpolation. Honorable Castro, you have the floor. You're recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat, sa ating mga colleagues at sa Comelec po, sa pamilya ng Comelec. So unang tanong, Mr. Chair, dahil nabanggit nyo kanina, sa May 2022, ang eleksyon at siyempre po, kailangan ng additional budget, at napansin ko naman na doon sa election na budget ay dumoble naman din or mayroon naman dagdag. Bagamat mayroong 15.9 billion na kinaltas doon sa propose ng Comelec, I join with you, Mr. Chair, na in a proper time maibalik natin ito. And then ang tanong ko lang po sa Comelec, Mr. Chair, dahil meron po tayong RA 10756 Election Service Reform Act. At sa pangatlong pagkakataon, napansin ko wala man lang consideration dun sa section 4 ng batas na every 3 years, every election dapat nire-review ng Comelec yung honorarium na ibinibigay nito doon sa ating mga volunteer BEI at saka doon sa mga DepEd official na tutulong doon sa conduct ng election. So tama po ba ang impression ko, Mr. Chair?
Comelec, who will answer that question?
Mr. Chair, may we refer to the chairman? He's on Zoom.
Ms. Chairman Abbas, you may answer the question.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and the representatives or dear representatives of the House of Representatives. As to the question po regarding sa increase, we were given additional 10 billion by the DBM for our proposed budget. But as already mentioned, nakat po kami ng almost 15 billion. So doon sa item ng honorarium ng mga teachers po natin, kinompute po namin, binigyan kami ata ng a certain amount for the increase. Ang initial computation po namin kung Castro is we could give additional 2,000 across the board sa lahat ng mga teachers natin na magsisilbi nitong eleksyon. So 2,000 yung initial computation namin. So posible pa pong aakyat yan, pero kinocompute pa po namin lahat-lahat ng aming ibabayad sa mga poll workers po namin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman Abbas, thank you po doon sa pagsagot. Alam niyo po, sinasabi ng Comelec na Mr. Chair na magkakaroon ng mas mahabang election hours, di ba? So 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on May 9, 2022. So mahaba po 'yun para sa ating mga teachers. Alam niyo po, pag nagsimula po ng 6 a.m. ang election time, mga alas 3, alas 4, gising na ang mga teachers dahil pupunta na yan, Mr. Chair, doon sa precinct o doon sa munisipyo kung kukuha o sa city kung saan kukuhanin yung paraphernalia. And then after election, after 6 p.m. ng election, baka madaling araw na naman yan or midnight na naman yan kasi magbabalik yan ng mga paraphernalia ulit sa City Hall. So basically, Mr. Chair, Chairman, dalawang halos isang araw, 'di ba? Yung election day sa bahagi po ng guro at hindi pa yan. Syempre may mga training pa yan, webinar, at may mga pa yan may mga pupunta pa sila sa school para ayusin yung mga rooms nila, yung precinct, at saka ayusin po yung mga machines. So talagang tedious yung trabaho ng ating mga volunteer BI pagdating ng election. So tingin ko, Mr. Chair, may maliit yung 2,000 na maidadagdag across the board doon sa honorarium ng ating mga volunteer election personnel. Ang union po ng mga teachers, ang ACT, ay nagpapanukala na sa chairman, sana ay 10,000. Sa mga members ng board, dapat ay 9,000. 8,000 naman sa mga DepEd supervisor officials, 7,000 sa mga support personnel, 3,000 to 5,000, Mr. Chair, doon sa travel allowance at saka 2,500 para sa meal allowance. So sana po makonsider Mr. Chair, dahil yung sinasabi po na 6,000 na yan, medyo maliit pa nga yan, Mr. Chair, at sana po every election nire-review yan. Tama po ba ako, Comelec Chair Abbas? Dapat po taon-taon, every 3 years nire-review nyo yung yung compensation ng ating mga BEI.
Mr. Chair, may I respond?
Yes, Chairman Abbas, you may respond.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As to the review po, every 3 years, nire-review po namin yung mga pwede nating ibigay sa ating mga mahal na guro. As a matter of fact, meron po kaming mga meetings, series of meetings with the DepEd, and they proposes an increase. So that is why po lahat nung proposal nila, sinabit po namin sa DBM. So ako personally, I wrote a letter to the DBM secretary referring the letter of the DepEd. In total, wala po akong kinaltas ni Kwan. So total na endorsement ko po yung hinihingi ng ating mahal na mga DepEd officials. So unfortunately po, hindi rin po naibigay yon lahat. Okay? But sabi ko nga, doon naman sa oras na pagsisilbi nila, we will compute po. Kung halimbawa ma-extend, we will compute yung additional na ibibigay natin sa mga teachers per hour. Okay? So titingnan lang po namin yung binigay sa amin na budget and we will compute it accordingly. Pero sa sinabi ko po, kung matutulungan po kami ng Kongreso na maibalik lahat ng hiningi po namin sa DBM regarding the increased honorarium ng mga teachers, is mas maganda po yon. Pero sa ngayon, tali din po kami sa ano lang po yung binigay sa amin ng DBM.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair, in the proper time, no, during the plenary, so mag-aano po ako ng amendments regarding dun sa additional compensation po ng ating mga
Honorable Castro, can you repeat your question na medyo na...
Oo nga, pasensya na po, Mr. Chair. So in the proper time, during the plenary session po noong budget po ng Comelec, I will amend the budget of the Comelec para po madagdagan yung honorarium ng ating mga BEI at saka yung mga DepEd personnel po na mag-volunteer sa darating na election. Sana matulungan niyo po ako, Mr. Chair, na natin to, na mai-push natin, na maibalik yung sinasabi nilang 10 billion na budget po para madagdagan yung honorarium ng ating mga BEI.
Yes, Honorable Castro, we are taking note of your observation on the Comelec's budget. The chair also recognizes the importance of that budget for the teachers. No, hindi madali ang mag-serve during election period, especially at this time of pandemic. So now we proceed to the next interpolator.
Wala na po akong time, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry.
Wala na po ba akong time for the wala na po ba akong time?
Honorable Castro, we will. You still have 1 minute. I'm sorry. You still have 1 more minute.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Doon sa ang itatanong na lang po natin regarding din po sa proteksyon ng ating mga kaguruan, dahil nababanggit po nung sa mga meeting po sa Committee on Suffrage, Mr. Chair, na yung mga presinto po ay at least 800 yung mga voters natin. So tingin ko po, Mr. Chair, medyo malaki yung 800 considering na pandemic time at haba yung panahon ng pagsisilbi ng mga teachers. Baka po rin makonsider at makita, makapagkaroon tayo ng test regarding doon sa pasok at labas at pagkatapos ng pagboboto ng mga mamayan natin. Kaya Mr. Chair, baka makonsider din po ng Comelec na yung 800 masyado pong malaki yon, sabi ng ating mga sabi ng ating mga teachers. Mr. Chair, can we have the comment from Chairman Abbas?
Chairman Abbas, you may answer.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yung 800 actually, Mr. Chair, ang unang proposal namin as against the machines na meron kami is 1,000 actually. So pinababa namin ng 800. So tingnan pa po namin sa aming budget din kung kaya pa namin ng 600. Okay? So tinitingnan pa din namin, as a matter of fact, ongoing po yung bidding namin for additional machines. Okay, pero at least yung 800 is mas malayo naman sa 1,000. Pero sabi ko nga, titingnan pa namin kung kaya naming dagdagan pa para mabawasan hanggang 600 po.
Ayan, thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand may dagdag po akong time later on. Mamaya ko na lang po tatanungin yung iba po pang gustong itanong sa Comelec, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Castro. Yes, you have additional time from Kong Arlene Brosas. We will go back to you after the next interpolator. But before we proceed to the next interpolator, the chair would like to have some clarification with Chairman Abbas. There's a newspaper item today, regarding the bidding of 10,000 VCM machines. The chair would like to ask the clarification on this particular bidding. Is this additional to the existing 97,000 VCM machine? And correlating to that question is, what if this bidding will not proceed because according to the newspaper report, that the Smartmatic, I think, found that the amount of 600 million will not suffice to the cost that they will incur. Chairman Abbas, please.
Yes, that is true, Mr. Chair. I coordinated it with our Special Bids and Awards Committee. Nag-failure nga yung bidding namin for 10,000 machines. That 10,000 machines, Your Honor, will bring yung sinasabi nating 800 per precinct. Okay, so additional sana yon, but unfortunately, nag-fail po yung first bidding namin. So under the GPPB rules po, after the failure of first bidding, the Special Bids and Awards Committee will have a mandatory review on the TOR. Okay, so titingnan natin kung magpo-proceed po kami sa second bidding. Pero kung hindi po, mag-stick po kami sa 97,000. So ang mangyayari po 1,000 per clustered precinct po tayo. Okay, but titingnan namin yung takbo ng bidding process, but sana madagdagan po kami ng makina para at least mapababa po natin sa 800.
So just a quick follow-up. So the 97,000 will give us, instead of 800, 1,000 pala na voters per precinct, because we were of the assumption na yung 97,000 is already good for 800 voters per clustered precinct. So we still need 10,000 more to make it 800 per clustered precinct, and then if we want to bring it down to 600, we will need again another 10,000. Am I correct, Mr. Chair? Chairman Abbas?
Yes, Mr. Chair, ganun po yan.
Thank you very much for that clarification. We now proceed to the next interpolator. May we call from the majority, the chairman of the Justice Committee, Congressman Vicente Veloso. Congressman Veloso, Chair Veloso, you have the floor. Chairman Veloso, are you in the Zoom? Please unmute yourself. We cannot hear you here. Okay, so may problema. So we will go back now. We'll go to the next interpolator. Again, from the majority, no? May we recognize Deputy Speaker D.V. Sabillano for his interpolation. D.S. Sabillano, you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Okay ba? Okay na ba? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, colleagues, Chairman Abbas and the Comelec family. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. May mga katanungan lang po ako. Like number one, I just want to be clarified on this matter regarding party list. I would like to get your opinion regarding a political party list in CAR as 4 nominees who are not residents of Region CAR but of Region 3. Are those nominees eligible to be nominees of the regional party list in CAR?
Comelec, who will answer the question of D.S. Sabillano?
Mr. Chair, may we refer the question to the representative of the Law Department, who is also in the Zoom room?
May I know the name of the...
Sorry, that's Director Kasingal po. Director Kasingal of Nori Kasingal of the Comelec.
Attorney Kasingal, you have the floor. Please answer the question of Deputy Speaker Sabillano.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning po sa lahat. Yes, Your Honor, as of this moment, we cannot really give an opinion on that because that might ripen into a disqualification case later on, questioning the qualification of a nominee, Your Honor. The qualification of a nominees are provided for under Republic Act 7941, Your Honor. So if they possess all the qualifications, then they can be nominated under a party list system.
Yeah, pero baka mapapahamak naman yung mga ibang tao niyan. Di ba?
Yun lang, Your Honor, kasi...
So kailangan, Mr. Chair, there should be an opinion on this now para walang mapahamak po ng mga tao. Para hindi na sila magpagod.
Yun, Chairman, basta we submit that the qualifications are provided for under 7941.
No, but hanging po tayo dyan eh. Hanging po tayo. So ano ba talaga? Para, hindi, ito naman para sa lahat eh. Para wala nang magpapagod pa. Di ba? Kung ganun din na may hanging pa, ano mangyayari?
Attorney Kasingal or Chairman Abbas, will you answer the question of DS Abiliano on the matter?
Yes, 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 Mr. Chair. Director Nori, pakibigyan na lang si Kong Sabiliano ng general. Huwag mo yung specific kasi baka maapektuhan yung actual case na. Yung general lang ng mga qualifications, especially on the residency.
Pero Mr. Chair, tatanungin pa rin sa plenary. Kasi,
sige, Director.
Ang point ko kasi dito, Mr. Chair, para wala na hong magpapagod, walang, di ba, na kandidato. Kasi, di ba, madidisqualify ka rin pala kasi hanging eh. Ano mangyayari? Kawawa
Sige,
naman.
Nori, bigyan mo sila ng residency requirement.
Your Honors, can we submit our position paper on that before the plenary?
Sige, Mr. Chair, okay lang sa akin. Basta may may opinion lang tayo dyan. Another thing, Mr. Chair, also yung are the board members, trustees of the regional party list required to be residents of the region where the party list is registered?
Attorney Kasingal, you answer the question.
May we include that, Your Honor, for the legal opinion of the law department?
Sige, okay lang.
Thank you.
Another
Your Honor.
thing, Mr. Chair, is to a further question. Will the Comelec recognize the new board of trustees of a regional party list after the resignation of the existing board of trustees prior to the filing of certificate of nomination as the board of trustees listed in the SIUS submitted to the Comelec was the existing board which will be replaced before the filing of nominees?
Attorney Kasingal.
The same, Your Honor.
Okay,
We cannot really give
tayo.
our categorical opinion now, Your Honors.
Then tatay ko kasi nasa Comelec dati, so tatanong lang ako.
Yes po, sir.
Another, Mr. Chair, regarding RA 10717, party list nominees who lost in the 2019 elections, are they allowed to participate as nominees this coming 2022?
May I answer, Your Honor?
Yes, Attorney Kasingal, you may.
Mr. Chairman, the disqualification refers to loss in an elective position, not the loss of the party list. That is very, very specific under 7941, Your Honors.
So pag natalo siya sa
regular elections.
regular, hindi na
Yes
pwede.
po, elective
Pero sa
position.
pag-party list, pwede pa rin.
Yes po.
Okay. Para klaro na lang tayo dyan. Another, Mr. Chair, is when is the release of those existing party lists which signified their intention to participate in 2022 elections? Is it automatic for Comelec to approve those existing party lists once they signified their intention to participate and complied with the orders of Comelec?
Attorney Kasingal.
Sir, may I request Director Gatdula to answer? It's with the Clerk of the Commission, Your Honors.
Director Gatdula, you have the floor. Please answer the question of DS Abiliano.
Your Honors, good morning. With respect to a party list, to existing party list, which is not delisted based on the rules that we are having, and they filed the corresponding manifestation of intent to participate, and they complied with the order of the Commission to publish in newspaper of daily circulation, general circulation, Your Honor, then such particular party list is already bona fide allowed or will be allowed to participate in the national elections for party list representations, they will have to comply with the requirements set forth under the rules 10717 as to the filing of their respective nominations and acceptance.
Okay. Last question, Mr. Chairman. October 1 is the filing of certificate of nomination. How many new party lists filed a petition? How many of those petitions have been approved? What about those existing party lists which signified their intention to participate in the 2022 elections? How many of those party lists were given imprimatur to participate? Why is there a delay?
Attorney Kasingal, please respond.
Good morning, Chairman. The data still with Director Gatdula, Your Honors.
Director Gatdula, please respond.
Yan, isa-isay natin. How many party lists filed a petition?
Director Gatdula, please unmute yourself.
Sorry, Your Honors. For 2022 national and local elections, we have 245 cases filed, Your Honor.
So how many of those have been approved?
Your Honors, we have approved 2, and we have certain cases which have been resolved or dismissed, Your Honor, and pending motion for consideration.
2 pa lang.
Yes, Your Honor, because,
Okay.
Your Honor, with respect to the filing of cases, the filing is not the only reckoning point wherein the party may be accredited. They shall undergo a series of process which include the hearing of a particular case, the publication, and the submission of the case for resolution before the Honorable Commissioners. Your
So yung
Honor.
third question ko doon,
Yes, Your Honor.
what about those existing party lists which signify their intention to participate in 2022?
Your Honor, as of the moment, we have docketed around 105 100 party lists, Your Honor, and these party lists were ordered to file or to publish the respective manifestation of intent to participate, and the parties complied already. Not all parties have complied, but orders
naman.
were already given to these party lists,
May
Your Honor.
procedure naman eh.
Yes,
So
Your
how
Honor.
many of those party lists were given imprimatur to participate?
These party lists, Your Honors, 100 party lists, together with the 2 which were previously approved or newly approved, Your Honor, for 2022 national elections, 102, Your Honor, were
So
given.
102.
Yes, Your Honors. 102 party lists were given already the order to publish their respective manifestation of intent to participate, and they will be able to participate for the 2022 national and local elections, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, ang question ko lang, ba't may delay? Kasi parang nabibitin sila sa nabibitin sila sa time. Bakit may delay?
Your Honor, the deadline for filing was on March 31, 2021, Your Honor. Aside from the fact that we have encountered series of closure of the offices because of the pandemic and the necessary things that we have to do, and even if we are working under skeleton workforce, Your Honor, we were able to finish all the documents, the hearings of the cases, through video conferences and electronic filing, Your Honor. Even prior to the setup or the hearing of this case or the filing, Your Honor, we were able to promulgate Comelec Resolution 10673 in order for us to expedite the proceedings as to the electronic filing and electronic video conferencing of the cases to be heard, Your Honor. But, Your Honor, the cases would include, again, Your Honor, just to reiterate, Your Honors, that the hearing is not only the mere filing, because every case, Your Honor, shall be heard, Your Honor. For 2022 national and local elections, Your Honor, there are 245. In 2019, Your Honor, we only have 111 cases filed. So the cases, Your Honor, is a huge. There's a huge increase of the number of cases filed for 2022 national and local elections as compared to 2019, Your Honor. And even if we are in the midst of pandemic, Your Honor, we tried our best, Your Honor, to finish everything, Your Honor. Your Honor, we only have 1 case left for party list representation because this case was reset, but all cases, Your Honor, were already submitted for resolution, Your Honors.
Yan lang. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chairman, and to the Comelec family.
Thank you very much, DS Sabiliano, for your interpolation. Before we proceed, may I recognize our colleagues present here physically. Honorable Tyrone Agabas from the 6th District of Pangasinan and Honorable Sara Jane Ilago from Kabataan Party List. Now we will proceed to the next interpolator. We will call on Congressman Edsel Lagman. Congressman Lagman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me now proceed with my questions. First, what modalities are proposed by the Comelec to maximize the turnout of voters in view of the COVID-19 pandemic with respect to the following? A, increasing the polling time. B, increasing the number of clustered precincts. 3, increasing the number of Board of Election inspectors. And 4, multi-days election. And what are the budgetary implications of each of these modalities?
The chair would like to call Chairman Abbas to answer the question of Congressman Edsel Lagman.
Yes, Mr. Chair, may I respectfully refer you to the Executive Director, the head of the Project Management Office, Your Honor.
Director, please respond to Congressman Lagman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Insofar as they increase the polling time, Comelec right now is looking at a 12-hour voting time. That is from 6 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. with a provision for extending the voting hours in case there are still voters who are not able to vote who are already in the polling places. With respect to the increase in the number of polling precincts, this was answered a while ago. Comelec is looking at 800 voters per clustered precinct. That is why it is leasing 10,000 additional machines to satisfy the requirement of 800 voters per clustered precinct. With respect to the electoral board, the number of electoral board corresponds with the number of electoral precincts or clustered precincts. So if there are 97,745, if there are about 105 clustered precincts in a 800 voters per cluster, you would be needing 105,000 sets of electoral board, not to mention the DESO, the support staff, and also the other electoral boards that will manage our IPP or the isolation polling precinct, the EAPP, the local absentee voting electoral boards, as well as the PW or persons deprived of liberty electoral board for their PDL voting process. With respect to a two-day voting, there is already a budget, a study on how much will it cost for a 2-day and how much will it cost for a 1-day with an extended voting hours. May I just request, Mr. Chair, the data is with the Finance Services Department. It's with them, the ones who are physically present, Mr. Chair. They have the data. May I request that they be given time to provide the committee with the data.
Yes, Attorney Alarcon, please provide us with the data.
Yes, Your Honor, please. If we will increase the clustered precincts, we will need 18.5 billion for the acquisitions of new machines, 5.3 billion. So a total of 23.9 billion for all machines needed. For the 2-day voting, Your Honor, please, the total budget needed is 19.7 billion, Your Honor, please.
Mr. Chairman, how about with respect to increasing the polling time from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. with possibility of extension? How much would be the budgetary implication?
Attorney Alarcon, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As it stands, Your Honor, please, per policy in the last national and local election, wherein the voting time is 7 to 7. So we will still maintain the same budget as it is proposed right now, Your Honor, please.
And how much is that proposed budget which you are going to maintain?
For all maintenance and other operating expenses, Your Honor, please, for the NLE, it is 12,572,610,000, Your Honor, please, which includes all items under the maintenance and other operating expenses po.
In other words, with respect to the modality of increasing the polling time, that is already in your proposed budget as granted by the DBM. Is that correct?
Attorney Alarcon, please respond.
Yes, Your Honor, please. It is already considered, Your Honor, please.
And how about the increasing of the number of clustered precincts and consequently increasing the number of the Board of Election Inspectors and the requisite machines? Are these already included in your proposed budget?
No, Your Honor, please. On the increase of alone of the Board of Election Inspectors, for the breakdown, the old rate as it stands right now, it is for 4.3. But if we increase the number of clustered precincts, it will become 5.4, Your Honor, please.
Okay. Okay.
Based on the old rate alone, Your Honor, please.
And how about the 19 billion for a two-day election process? Is this already included or it is not? In other words, you will have to need additional funding.
Your Honor, please, depending upon the policy implemented by the Commission, considering also the duties and responsibilities that will be added to the that will be done by the election board, Your Honor, please, there will become a deficiency if we will duplicate the duties that they are performing on the first day. There will be a deficiency of 6.3 billion, Your Honor, please.
In other words, it's times 2 of the one-day election process. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor, please.
Kindly submit to the committee the various modalities being considered by the Comelec for the forthcoming 2022 election and how much are the budgetary implications.
Yes, Your Honor, please. We will submit po.
Okay. My next question, Mr. Chairman, and actually this could be my last. In the party list system, who is the representative in the House of Representatives? Is it the party list itself or its particular nominee?
Comelec, who will answer the question?
May we refer that to the Law Department Director po, Director Nori Kasingal, Mr. Chair.
Director Kasingal, please respond to the question of Congressman Lagman.
Good morning, Chairman. Yes po. Although the candidate, we say that it is the party list group, but once it won in the election, and there will be a sitting nominee in the House of Representatives, then it will be the nominee that will become the representative of Your Honors.
In other words, what you are saying is that the party list is not the representative in the House, Mr. Chairman, but it is the nominee. Is that correct?
Yes, Chairman, it now becomes the nominee who becomes a representative.
I hope you could submit to the commission, to the committee, your position on this question based on a legal justification as well as with existing law.
Address.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, I would now be terminating my questions. Thank you for this opportunity to ask these questions. And I would like to remind the Comelec that they have undertaken to submit some reports or position to the committee, and we will expect that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Kong Lagman, for your interpolation. Of course, Comelec, please take note of all the documents that were required by our interpolators from DS D.V. Sabiliano and now from Congressman Edsel Lagman. Please submit it to the committee. Now, for our next interpolator, may we call back Honorable from the minority, Honorable Franz Castro, for the time that was given to her by Honorable Brosas. Honorable Castro, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dagdag ko na lang po doon sa hinihiling po natin para sa mga BEI. Sana ma-consider din po, Mr. Chair, yung service risk allowance din dahil ito po ay pandemya. Dapat ma-consider din po ng Comelec yung katumbas ng SRA ng mga health workers o yung tinatawag nating hazard pay during the day. Tsaka yung service credits. Dahil nasa batas po, Mr. Chair, minimum of 5 days ang service credit. Sana rin po ay madagdagan. May I hear the, Mr. Chair, the comment of the Comelec?
Comelec, who will respond to the question?
May we refer to the Honorable Chairman, Mr. Chair?
Chairman Abbas, please respond to the question of Honorable Castro.
Yes, Your Honor. As to the service credit, the minimum that we gave is 5 days, but we will consider for additional. So, titingnan po namin kung makakadagdag po kami ng service credit. So, as to hazard pay po, Your Honor, we asked that to the DBM. Unfortunately po, hindi na ibigay yung hazard pay. So, sa ngayon, sa budget namin ngayon, hindi po kasama yung hazard pay.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, ang request po sana natin at least 5,000 para doon sa SRA o service risk allowance or hazard pay para sa ating mga teachers and BEI volunteers. Another question, Mr. Chair, ito pong nasa yung budget cuts doon sa Electoral Enforcement and Adjudication Program. Nabawasan po ito, Mr. Chair, ng 4.9 million pesos. So ano po yung magiging epekto nito doon sa kasi ito yata yung ginagamit natin na pag nagkaroon ng mga protest, ito yung budget natin para doon. So Mr. Chair, ano po yung pwede nating maging alternative dito? Or are you requesting na maibalik din po natin ito? Mr. Chair?
Chairman Abbas, please respond to the question of Honorable Castro.
Yes, titingnan po namin na Mr. Chair kung pero kung maliit lang yan, Your Honor, okay na yan sa amin. Okay, pagkasyahin na lang namin.
Okay. So, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the last manifestation. So, salamat po dun sa mga positive nasagot po sa atin ng Comelec. Hopefully po magkatulungan pagkatulungan ng ating mga teachers, ang Comelec, ang taong bayan para maihatid po yung yung honest, peaceful election for May 2022. At sana po mai-grant ng DBM dahil i-raise ko rin po ito sa DBM later on Mr. Chair, etong mga dagdag na mga benepisyo po para sa ating mga volunteer BI come 2022 election. Thank you Mr. Chair. Salamat po Chairman Abbas.
Honorable Castro, is that your last question? No. Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Castro, for your interpolation. We'll now proceed to the next interpolator from the majority, the chairman of the Justice Committee, Congressman Vicente Veloso. Chairman Veloso, you have the floor. Chair Veloso. Okay, we will proceed to the next interpolator. May we call now from the minority, Representative Congressman Ferdinand Gaite. Kong Gaite, you have the floor for your interpolation.
Salamat po Mr. Chair at isang magandang umaga sa ating mga magiting na kasama dyan sa Kongreso, ang ating mga kasapi sa House of Representatives, ating guests, especially sa ating mga kasamahan sa Comelec. Isang magandang umaga. May mga ilang katanungan lang po ko sa Comelec pero ngayon pa lang nais ko na po pang manifest na yung budget na hinihiling po ng Comelec na 46.9 billion na binawasan ng 15.9 billion at ngayon ay naging 26.49 billion na lamang. Naniniwala po ko na dahil napakahalaga ng paglulunsad ng isang maayos, malinis, sana'y COVID-free na election ay karapat-dapat lamang na maibalik ang pondong hinihiling nila para sa pagdaos ng 2022 election. Sa unang katanungan ko po ay even before we proceed to the actual elections, ay yung problema po ng overseas absentee voting. Batay sa datos kanina po yung pina-present sa PowerPoint, noong 2019, there were 1.8 million registered OAV, overseas absentee voters registered. As of 2021, during a hearing in the Committee on Suffrage, ang sabi po, bumaba to 1.495 million. Pwede ho bang matanong, una sa lahat, ilan ho ba ang inaasahan nating buboto na overseas absentee voting? Alam ko po, naintindihan ko, meron po tayong mga overseas Filipino workers na kasama sa bilang dito. Pero ang isa pa, yung ating mga Pilipinong migrants na o overseas Filipinos who have become citizens of other countries and by virtue of the dual citizen law, pwede silang bumoto. Ilan ho ba ang kabuuan bilang na atensyon nyo na bilang ng overseas Filipinos na dapat masama at hindi ba disenfranchise sa election, Mr. Chair?
Comelec?
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
yes,
thank you
please
very much. May I refer the question to our Director for Overseas Voting, the Director Bea Lozada. She's on the Zoom.
Director Bea, may I beg your pardon?
Bea Lozada po.
Okay, Director Bea Lozada, please respond to the question of Kong Gaite.
Good morning, Your Honors. With the indulgence of the chairman and this committee, Regarding the number of
Director,
registered,
please speak no, louder. We cannot hear you.
with respect to the number of overseas registered overseas voters that we are expecting for the 2022 elections, we are targeting around 1.65 million voters. Representative Kaita is correct that in 2019 we did have 1.822 million overseas voters. However, for the 2022 elections, there will be a dip in the numbers for two major reasons. First is the implementation of the reactivation clause, the deactivation clause, which was a new inclusion in the revision to the original overseas absentee voting law. No? So this was introduced after the 2013 elections. And for those who did not vote in the two consecutive national elections since then, so this is in the 2016 and the 2019 elections, were deactivated for the first time after the conduct of the 2019 elections. Due to the low turnout in the overseas voting for these past two elections, this has resulted in the deactivation of over 576 overseas voters. At present, we are, again, Congressman Gaite is correct. The number of registered overseas voters at present, as of the July 2021 RERB hearing, stands at 1.495 million. No? And the second reason, so aside from the 576,000 deactivation, the second reason is the massive repatriation of overseas Filipinos due to the pandemic. As reported by our colleagues in the DFA, in OWA, and in the other agencies who are in charge of the repatriation of our overseas Filipinos, there are more than 800,000 already who have returned back to the Philippines, although not all of them has registered to transfer, no, because of the uncertainty. But yun nga po, this also explains why we're targeting lower po because of these two major phenomena.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I continue?
Yes, Congaite, please continue.
Thank you. This is alarming, considering that apparently we're not increasing, or we're disenfranchising voters, lalo na yung ating mga migranteng Pilipino. Batay sa datos ng Philippine Statistics Authority, anywhere from 11 to 12 million Filipinos, yung binabanggit yung yung mga overseas Filipino workers ay about 1/10 po nun, ano? About 1 million or so, no? Pero ang malaking bahagi dyan ay yung mga Pilipinong citizen na ng mga ibang bansa. 11 to 12 million. But your data only indicates that you have only about 1.5 million who will be allowed to vote. Hindi ho ba dapat concern ito na dinidisenfranchise natin yung ating mga Pilipinong nasa ibang bansa na pwede sanang bumoto? Mr. Chair, kung pwede pong clarification.
Comelec, who will respond to the question of Congaite? Okay. Director, please respond.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I understand the concern of the Honorable Congressman that there seems to be a disparity, no? However, upon our inquiry naman po with the PSA, as per their 2019 survey of overseas Filipinos, they only identified so far 2.2 million overseas Filipinos. So I would really appreciate po, Congressman Gaita, if you can provide us, kasi iba po yung report na binigay niyo po.
Mr. Chair, mukhang contract workers yung binabanggit niyo po bilang. Ang sinasabi ko po ay yung mga Filipinos na nag-acquire na ng citizen na ibang bansa At to just indicate, in the US alone, there are about 4 million Filipinos. In Saudi, there are about 900,000. Ito yung mga contractual workers, no? UAE, 600,000. Canada, about 300,000. Japan, about 235,000. Australia, also 200, almost 300,000. So, although of course, ang pagkaintindi ko, only those who are dual citizens, tama po, can vote. Tama po ba yun?
Hindi po. Overseas Filipinos in general po. Who will
Hindi
be
po.
abroad.
Kung ikaw ay citizen na ibang bansa, you have to undergo
Yes.
the process of acquiring dual
Reacquire.
citizen. Tama po?
Yes.
Okay.
To be able to, yes.
Do you have data on ilan ang dual citizens sa buong daigdig ngayon ng mga Pilipino, Mr. Chair?
Kami po.
Opo.
Kanina po.
Please respond.
Yes. We don't have, we do have the data on insofar as the number of dual citizens who registered with us as overseas voters, but not the totality po, no? But we can provide po later on in written format yung data po hinihingi ni Congressman Gaite. But with all due respect, Your Honors, ang pag-registration po kasi ng registration as overseas voters, as much as we would like to encourage all overseas Filipinos to register, hindi naman po kasi mandatory that all of them should. So, depende din po sa kanila po yun, no? If they go to our embassies and consulates to sign up and register. I hope you understand din po na we do have actually received some communications, in fact, from those based in Europe na nagpapatanggal pa from the list, no? So, I cannot give you a response that pertains to why or why not the dual citizens would not to register. But I want to assure the body po that all the consulates and all of the our embassies are really working hard to register as many overseas Filipinos as they can. In fact po, in-incorporate nila sa proseso ng passport renewal, no, yung pag-register din na as overseas voters. So they've incorporated the process of OV registration into their consular services na po. And kasama din po ito sa kanilang mga consular and field registration activities, no, yung the offering to have overseas voting registration. I apologize, Your Honor, if my answers are not satisfactory, but we will submit po the data that you've requested po.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kasi tinitignan ko rin kahit sa budget nyo, yan yung isa sa mga malaking na slash. Yung proposal for overseas absentee voting was originally 111 million, was 831 million, I'm sorry, but was slashed to 111 million. So malaking factor rin ito, no? And I would like to reiterate, marami pong gustong bumoto. Ang problem is that the difficulty with nabanggit nyo naman, this representation is fully aware that the consular services of the DFA in the various countries are responsible dito sa registration. Pero alam po naman natin yung difficulty, no? Diyan sa Middle East, napakalayo ng ating mga consular offices. Gagastos sila at makakawala ng isang araw para lang sa transportasyon para makapagrehistro at bumoto. At second, yung boboto na naman sila. Hindi lahat ay mayroong postal voting. Hindi lahat ay may ibang mekanismo para mapadali ang voting. Kaya it makes it very difficult to them. And we hope that Comelec also looks into this matter. Kasi yung expenditure na lamang, example, yung postal, as simple as yung postal stamps, hindi na provide ng Comelec. So paano kung postal yung system ng voting, paano ma-ensure na boboto sila? In New Zealand, it was explained to me, napakamahal, 40 New Zealand dollars ang ginagamit daw ata for posting, no? In other countries, mura. Canada, I believe, mura. Pero still, the point is, hindi na dapat nagbabayad pa yung mga botante para lang i-exercise yung kanilang karapatang bumoto. Hindi ba naniniwala ang ating Comelec na dapat i-minimize natin yung disenfranchisement or actually do without disenfranchisement and allow as many of our legitimate voters, eligible voters to vote. Hindi mo ba tama? So to provide the maximum opportunity for all our voters, whether in the country or outside, September 30, last na ito, no? Na ito pang pinapangabahan nila. 20 days to go, tapos na yung registration. Marami pa are having difficulty with our consular offices. Again, I think Congresswoman Sara Elago will expound on the issue of extension of the registration. But ito, gusto ko lang i-point out na marami sa ating mga kababayan sa ibang bansa ang hindi makaboto dahil sa mga difficulties in-impose, including the biometrics and other concerns. Anong steps ang ginagawa ng Comelec to address these concerns, Mr. Chair?
Before you answer, Director, may I remind Congressman Gaiti that your time is up. So
Yes, Mr.
after
Chair.
the response of the Comelec, we'll proceed to the next interpolator.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I understand Congressman Caloy Zarate also gave me my time. So when his opportunity comes to interpolate, I will take his place.
Yes, we will go back to you after the
Yes, Mr.
interpolation from the majority.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Director Bea, please respond to the question of Kong Gaiti.
Yes, Your Honor. I agree. I would, regarding the statement that there should be provisions for a postage, prepaid postage that would enable an overseas voter to send in his or her ballot back to the post. Actually, Your Honor, this has been factored into our submission of the budget of the overseas voting budget, no, to the DBM. For the information of this body, in our proposed budget that we submitted to the DBM, we requested 160 million pesos specifically for this purpose, to include na po the two-way. So it's to factor in the postage going to the overseas voter and also the prepaid postage going back. However, as per the Tier 1 NEP that was given to us, only 6.148 million po ang na-fund for this item. So as much as we would also like to make it easy for overseas voters who are voting by mail to send in their ballots po, we don't have sufficient funding po even to send them out, no, because of the insufficient budget given us for this particular item. Your Honors, we do understand po that the cost, especially in some areas, can be prohibitive, no, for certain overseas voter to go even to, let's say, like in the case of Saudi Arabia, we do have feedback from overseas Filipinos communities that it costs them, they would have to do a special hire to get a taxi or some sort of chartered service to bring them to the diplomatic quarters to the Philippine embassy in Riyadh and or back, and we do recognize these shortcomings. That's why po we increased po talaga the budget for the courier and the for postage services. Pero unfortunately po hindi po to fully na fund. 6.148 lang po out of the 160 po yung given.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For now, I will yield and I will reserve some of my questions during Congressman Caloy's period of interpretation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Gaide, for your interpolation. We'll go back to you after our next interpolator from the majority, our chairman of the Committee on Justice, Congressman Vicente Veloso. Chairman Veloso, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Article 3, Section 16 of the Constitution. We know that Article 3 is an injunction against the state. mandates that all persons shall have the right to speedy disposition of their cases before all judicial, quasi-judicial, and administrative bodies. Daming reklamo about delay in the disposition of cases involving Senate Electoral Tribunal, House of Representatives Electoral Tribunal, and also the Comelec. They are suffering from unresolved cases. In the case of Comelec, Mr. Chair, ano po ba ang problema sa speedy disposition of cases, and how can we in the House of Representatives help Comelec? Paano natin matutulungan sila?
Comelec, who will respond to the query of Kong Biloso?
Yes po. Mr. Chair, may I respectfully endorse the question to our chairman, Chairman Abbas po.
Chairman Abbas, please respond to the query of Kong Biloso.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Yes, we admit, Mr. Chair, na medyo may kabagalan nga din yung mga pagre-resolve ng cases. As per our inventory, Your Honors, nasa 50% yung aming performance regarding the resolution of cases. Ang strategy po namin, Your Honor, is inuuna po namin yung mga old cases as far as 2001. So, nagre-resolve na po kami. Ang pangalawang ginawa namin, Your Honors, dahil kulang din yung lawyer staff namin, nagdagdag kami ng mga at least mga job order na lawyers. So ngayon, per Commissioner's Office, may tigda-dalawa. And then, yung law department po namin, nagbigay po kami ng quota for them weekly. Sa ngayon, for the past 4 months, may quota po silang 60 per week, 60 cases per week. That is for the overspending and other cases. Ngayon na naman po, nadagdagan na naman kami because may political and party list. Doble po yung naging submission ng party list, and we really have to resolve it immediately. And then we will anticipate another bulk of cases on the nuisances, ng mga nuisance candidates natin. So every year po, nadadagdag yung mas maraming nadadagdag. But rest assured po that the Commission is doing its part to unclog the dockets of the Comelec even before 2001. So ganun po yung ginagawa namin sa cases. Since pandemic, naapektuhan din yung mga hearings namin. Ang ginawa po namin, we immediately promulgated rules on the electronic hearing. So nagzo-zoom po kami sa mga hearings namin. And then even yung electronic filing, ganun din po. Nag-adapt na rin po kami. So ginagaya na rin po namin yung ina-adapt ng Supreme Court and the CA for these hearings. So hopefully, tuloy-tuloy po yung pagre-resolve namin ng cases.
Mr. Chair, would Comelec not need more funding for the hiring of more job order lawyers?
Yes,
Yes,
Chairman
Mr.
Abbas.
Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair. Sa ngayon po, yung mga savings namin for the personnel, kino-convert po namin yon sa job orders ng mga lawyer. Sa ngayon, 2 pa lang po because yun lang yung kaya ng budget namin. So hopefully kung meron kaming mga savings pa, baka pwede namin i-convert pa para madagdagan pa yung mga lawyers na makakatulong nga sa pagdadraft ng mga cases.
That being the case, Mr. Chair, in exact figures, kasi ang election natin, ang 18th Congress hanggang June 30. And if we hire more job order lawyers now, makakatulong yan. And besides, continuing problem naman ng Comelec, and I am sure that after the May 2022 elections, madadagdagan pa ang kaso ninyo. My question precisely is, magkano ba sa tingin nyo ang kailangang maitulong ng HREP, House of Representatives sa Comelec?
Mr. Chair, may I refer it to our personnel department to answer the question?
Mr. Chairman Abbas, sino po yung sa personal department?
Okay, Director Agat Ching, Margaret Ching, please answer.
Director Ching, please answer the question. Director Ching.
I apologize. I was only allowed right now to unmute myself with the permission of the chairman. If I
Yes,
may,
please proceed. Please proceed, Director Ching.
our budget for 2022 on other professional services was also decreased according to our Finance Services Department. And because of this, and this is where we are getting our budget for the hiring of contracts of service lawyers, we are requesting for additional budget to augment this. If we may be allowed, Your Honors, we will submit our computation to the House.
Yes, sana bilis-bilisan nyo yan. The House, you can be sure, at least from my standpoint, is quite supportive of the Comelec. Problema kasi yan eh. Ba't pa tayo mag-eleksyon kung hindi naman mariresolve ang disputed issues sa election na yan? Let me go, Mr. to another point. Dito sa training, activities 8 and 11. Tinitingnan ko, medyo malaking problema yan. 8 is training of the electoral board, so you have only 329 million budget for that, while refresher training for the electoral boards in activity 11, you only have 325 million. Are you sure na magkakasya na po ito, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, may I refer it again to Director Ching?
Yes, Director Ching, please respond.
With the permission of the chairman again, our proposed budget for training related to national and local elections is around 5.8 billion pesos. However, what we received from was only 1.1 billion pesos, which is not even enough to cover for our trainings, even for the electoral board members or our teachers. So we are imploring again for the assistance of the House of Representatives to help us with the increase or the restoration of our budget for the trainings. I think it would please this body to know that we will be having 11 different types of trainings for related to national and local elections. These are not only trainings for our teachers, the electoral board members, but also trainings for our canvassing board members, technicians, as well as PNP personnel who may serve as special electoral board members. We will also be training what we call support staff and DESO superintendents. We will also need the additional budget to provide for COVID protocols during their training.
Mr. Chair, the credibility of our May 2022 elections depends on the efficiency of those manning the elections. May I therefore manifest, Mr. Chair, that this representation supports the budget of the Comelec, and not only that, I will move in due time. I will move for the restoration of the deleted budget for activities 8 and 11 or training on the matter. Kung hindi man magkakasya yung kung hindi man makukuha yung 5 billion, at least kahit kalahati doon. Kasi ulitin ko po, Mr. Chair, importante po ang credibility ng elections natin. Lahat ito ay nakasalalay sa capacity to handle the election process ng ating mga kinatawan ng Comelec. And also on the matter of JO lawyers, I am also manifesting, Mr. Chair, na in due time, subject to the submission of the funding requirement ng Comelec, I will also support an increase in the budget of Comelec para matugunan naman po ang guarantee ng Konstitusyon under Article 3, Section 16, speedy disposition of pending cases before the Comelec. That would be all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chairman Veloso. And the Chair agrees with you na kailangan talagang ma-restore yung budget ng Comelec. Otherwise, we'll have a big problem this coming 2022 elections. And now we'll proceed. We will go back to the next interpolator. The next interpolator is from the minority. We'll go back to Congressman Ferdinand Gaite for his additional time from Congressman Sarate. Congressman Gaite, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Continuing my interpellation, taking off on the issue ng ating overseas absentee voters, na yun na nga, tulad ng nabanggit, napakababa po, no? Yung tina-target. At nabahagi ko na nga doon sa tanong kanina ng ating director, bakit mababa ang turnout? Marami nga ang ang nahihirapan sa aktual na proseso ng pagboto. Hindi pa natin pinag-usapan yung registration. And I think the Comelec should come up with some digital form of registration, counter-checked by the use of existing passports, Philippine passports, and others which have already obtained the necessary biometrics. Kasi yun po ata yung sinasabing requirement. So in this age that we are now digitalizing even bank transactions for that matter, hindi na siguro dapat aralin na maigi, no, kung ano ang mga pwedeng paraan and what recommendations for possible changes in the current laws to facilitate the process of registration and also of voting, Mr. Chair. So ganun lang po, meron ko bang ano ho yung mga ginagawa bang hakbang ngayon ng Comelec to address this pandemic problem regarding registration, online registration, and for now I think there are studies being undertaken for online voting or other forms such as postal at meron naman, but of course not all, I believe not all countries applicable to. So ano bang hakbang na ginagawa ngayon ng Comelec to address this problem, Mr. Chair?
Comelec, who will respond to the question of Congaite?
Can may we refer to Attorney Lozada po, Attorney Sonia Beawi Lozada again.
Yeah, Director Bea, please respond to the question of Congaite.
Thank you for that question, Congressman Gaite. With respect to innovations in the online registration process, we would also like to inform this body that the Commission has actually implemented for overseas voting what we call the virtual frontline services. No, so using existing data that the registered voters have within the Comelec database. So ito po yung mga dati na pong registered voter in the Philippine cities, municipalities, districts. Those who wish to apply as overseas voters can do so by sending us their registration form and a copy of their passport. So this is actually being done already and was implemented this year. Actually po, ongoing po yung pagpaprocess at pagtanggap ng mga applications until September 30. And then the application process, because it is required to be under oath, the administration of oath na process po takes place online via a video conferencing software like this, so that our election officers in the OFOM or the Office for Overseas Voting can administer the oath and interview the applicant, no, to ascertain that all the documents and the personal details that they provided are correct. So ginagawa na po ito ng Comelec. As for those na first-time registrants, meaning wala po talaga silang data sa Comelec, yun po yung pinag-aaralan namin with the DFA po. We are in the process, we actually have a joint technical working group set up between the Comelec and the DFA to study the possibility of using the data captured by the Department of Foreign Affairs in the passport issuance process for purposes of overseas voting registration. However, because of it's still under study po, no, pinag-aaralan pa po yung technical feasibility, yung interoperability, kung compatible po ba yung data na kinakapture nila to the use that we to the format that we use in the Comelec. We have decided po that to continue the talks but to defer implementation because there is some development required, no, to make this happen for the next registration cycle na po. With respect to online voting naman po, you are correct that we do have within this month of September ongoing test runs of internet voting solutions by 3 providers, which is provided to the Commission free of charge, no? So, in fact, tomorrow po is our first internet voting test run activity, wherein various DFA personnel, volunteers who signed up to be test voters will be testing the software, no, and provide us with feedback. The objective of the internet voting test runs is really to the end goal is for us to come up with a report for submission to the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on Overseas Voting. At present, Your Honors, that there are only two authorized modes of voting po kasi that is provided under Republic Act 10590, which amended Republic Act 9189, no? So that is voting in person and voting by mail. So yung adoption po ng online or internet-based voting would require an enabling law. So we will submit po as soon as we completed na po yung internet voting test runs, we will submit po a report to Congress para po mas comprehensive po yung report namin. Yung sa online registration naman po, we are actually in the course of preparing our position paper on this as well because under Section 28 of the Overseas Voting Act, kasama din po doon yung authority granted to the Comelec to explore also online modes of registration. So this is something that we will also be recommending and submitting po to the legislature. Thank you po, Your Honors.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the clarification, and we're pleased that efforts are being made, no, to address these concerns of our overseas Filipinos. But again, ito na nga, no, uning isang problema yung fast approaching deadline of September 30, and since the system is still not up, then I fear that marami pa ating mga kababayan ni mga kaboto, and of course, yung actual elections sa Mayo of 2022. Sana po ay bigyan rin kami ng pagkakataon ma-view, no, yung gagawin niyo pong testing ng online voting, no, so that we can observe the process, ano yung audit mechanisms, security measures, and others para ma-ensure, no, na yung possible fraud ay hindi magkaroon ng fraud doon sa magaganap na halalan. Panghuli na lang po, Mr. Chair, tungkol sa ating manpower personnel, no, na sa ating ahensya. You have 5,710 authorized positions, but yearly, the total filled positions remain at 4,889, no? I understand you do lack resources, especially human resources, sa lahat ng aspeto, no, ng inyong gawain na trabaho. There is a proposal in Congress to augment, no, yung ating bilang ng mga empleyado para hindi na umaasa sa mga local government units to provide contractual workers. Of course, there's an obvious conflict there. Kaya nga po para maiwasan ito, ay dapat ang mga empleyado dito ay direkta nasa ilalim ng Comelec. And of course, there is the need to upgrade, no, yung ating Comelec officers, no, na nandoon sa various cities, municipalities, and provincial levels dahil meron talagang napakalayong discrepancy, no, doon sa kanilang counterpart officials in their respective jurisdictions. So ang isa ring concern ng kadatawang ito, yung napakalaki pa ring ang paraan ng pagpuno nyo ay job orders and contract of service. about 690 according to the Inventory of Government Human Resource by the CSC ang bilang ng inyong job orders and contract of services. Ano ho ba ang status nito ngayon, lalo na may pandemya, no? Hopefully itong mga empleyadong ito ay hindi tinanggal at sa halip na dapat dahil naghahanda na kayo sa 2022 elections ay hindi lang ma-retain, ay dapat merong ring option sila na i-prioritize sila na ma-regularize considering there are more than 900 positions that are currently vacant, no? Kung 690 yung job orders and contract of service, provided they are qualified and they meet the qualification standards, meron ba steps ginagawa ang Comelec para sila ang ma-prioritize na mapunuan itong mga vacant positions, Mr. Chair?
Director, who will respond to the question?
Yeah. May we refer to our personnel director, Director Margaret Ching.
Director Ching, please respond to the question of Congaite.
With the permission of the Honorable Chair again, we definitely support the bills na na-mention po ni Representative Gaite filed in Congress, and the Comelec has been religiously attending these hearings. This is true. We have job order casuals who are hired because they ably assist our field personnel, especially in sa aming mga last weeks of registration efforts. Lalo na po ngayon, we have extended our working hours. And it would please also this body to know that other than their regular wages, we also provide them overtime. We pay them overtime when the hours worked or rendered exceed the regular hours po. So we also provide them overtime. And we also, currently we are assisting them to be regularized by coordinating with CSC on their regularization process. We are also assisting them, several offices also have their own, our own CSC reviews. In fact, our employees union is very active on this. Sila po actually ang tumutulong sa HR or the personal department to reach out, because ang aming employees union can reach out nationwide to all our offices nationwide. So they are very active in terms of sa regularization process, such as mga CSC reviews po. Of late, there was a CSC review in the main office, which was organized by our employees union. And they, I understand, because they invited me as a speaker, that some of the teachers were actually from the University of the Philippines rin po. So we are heavily communicating, constantly communicating with our employees union regarding this, and with the Civil Service Commission rin po. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And for my final manifestation, thank you for the reply, for the clarification. Doon sa union, actually, kilala ko yung presidente niya, si Mac Ramirez. Very active po yan sa karapatan at kagalingan ng mga kawani at manggagawa, at matagal na nilang ipinaglalaban ang maraming usapin, kasama yung collective negotiations agreement, improvement of working conditions, including itong bill regarding the yung pagsasaayos ng sistema sa Comelec, especially yung upgrading of the positions, including the increase in workforce in the plantilla. But Mr. Chair, babalik lang ako doon sa nalulungkot pa rin ako na patuloy pa rin na disenfranchise ang ating mga kababayan abroad. Sa pagpaparehistro pa lamang, hihirapan na sila, lalo pa sa pagboto. Dapat sana hindi na natin pinahirapan ng ating mga Pilipino sa iba't ibang bansa. At wag nang paggastusin tulad ng napakasimple yung stamp at postal sa kanilang balota. Kaya't nanawagan ng kanitong ito na ibalik ang mga in-slash na budget ng DBM, yung ibalik sa 46.99 billion as originally proposed, at kasama na rin yung budget para sa overseas absentee voting at iba pang mga pangangailangan ng ating mga kawani, lalo na sa panahon ng pandemya, para matiyak na maging ligtas, maayos, orderly, at mapayapa ang magaganap na halalan sa 2022. Mr. Chair, maraming salamat sa ating Chairman ng Comelec, Chairman Sheriff Abbas, at sa lahat ng mga commissioners Salamat po sa inyong at officers, isang magandang hapon at salamat sa inyong mga katugunan.
Maraming salamat, Kong Gaite, and the chair agrees with your manifestation na kailangan talagang i-restore ang budget ng Comelec for a very efficient elections next year. Now we will proceed for our next interpolator from the minority, Honorable Sara Ilago. You have the floor, ma'am.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Isang mainit na pagbati po sa Comelec family. Unang-una, Mr. Chair, ang kabataan po ay sumuporta doon sa House Bill number 9652 na nagbibigay ng dagdag na kompensasyon sa mga nagsisilbi nating mga frontliners sa national election sa panahon na ang Pilipinas ay nasa gitna pa ng public health emergency. At sa pamamagitan ng kinakailangan na measure na ito, magbibigay ng honorarium mula dun sa pagtitiyak ng exemption dun sa income taxation at iba pa na mga nararapat na ibigay sa kanila ng mga benepisyo. Deserve po ng ating mga guro at lahat ng mga volunteer tuwing eleksyon ang nararapat na kompensasyon nila ng walang anumang kaltas. Totoo na malaking bagay ang agarang pagsasabatas at pagpapatupad nito, ngunit mas malaking tulong, Mr. Chair, kung matitiyak na mapondohan ito, lalo na at papalapit na ang 2022 national election. Sa gitna ng pandemya at tayo ay lumalaban sa COVID-19 pandemic, kung kailan doble rin ang peligro na kinakaharap ng ating mga frontliners. Kaya, Mr. Chair, this youth representation will propose the necessary amendment to the 22 budget at the proper time to support this cause. Second, Mr. Chair, this youth representation also welcomed the approval of the House Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms of House Resolutions number 2128 and 2139, strongly urging the Comelec to heed the demands of youth, workers, and other sectors, calling for the extension of the voter registration period to prevent massive voter disenfranchisement amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Sang-ayon po sa ating naging talakayan sa komite, nasa 12 million pa ang hindi nakakapagparehistro at napakalaking bagay ng kahit isang buwan lang na extension upang bigyan ng pagkakataon ang marami pang unregistered na makapagparehistro na sa gitna ng pandemya. Ngayon, Mr. Chair, ang kinaibahan po ng panahon ngayon, dahil nga nasa gitna tayo ng pandemic, yung mga kababayan natin, mas naging malay, mas naging mulat, mas nalalaman na nila kung ano po yung epekto, yung daglian na impact, hindi lang sa ngayon, kundi sa kinabukasan ng desisyon, ng mga pronouncements, ng mga pahayag ng ating mga public officials. Kaya po, hindi rin natin na maitatanggi kung gaano ka napakasigla. Grabe po yung energy ngayon. Kahit wala pong klase, at tuloy-tuloy po yung mga online voters education and information activities ng mga estudyante, ng mga kabataan sa kanilang komunidad, habang mahigpit na sumusunod dun sa mga health protocols na kinakailangan. Talagang masigabong po yung kanilang kampanya sa pagpaparehistro at hindi lang pagpaparehistro, kundi mismong pagboto sa darating na eleksyon. Ngunit, marami po sa mga kabataan na nais magparehistro at yan po yung sinasalamin ng mga petisyon na hinapag po natin sa Comelec para dito sa extension ng voter registration. Marami po dito yung mga below 18, yung mga turning 18, yung mag-18 pa lang sa darating na eleksyon, na matagal na panahon na hindi po nakalabas nitong 2020 dahil mga September, November, October pa lang po natin pinayagan makalabas yung mga below 18. Kaya po ngayon na medyo nakaluwag-luwag yung mga restrictions na una na sa MECQ areas, na suspended yung voters registration, welcome po natin yung efforts ng Comelec na payagan yung voter registration sa MECQ areas. Nag-extend naman din po sila na ng registration hours, no, binuksan na rin yung Sabado para sa pagpaparehistro. Ngunit ang kalagayan po natin ngayon, kahapon lang, natala din natin yung pinakamataas na bilang ng kaso ng COVID-19. No, kaya po sa ganitong kalagayan, Mr. Chair, talagang nananawagan po tayo sa Comelec. Wala naman pong nagbabawal sa inyo, no, na hindi mag-extend ng voters registration. Ang sinasaad lang po sa ating batas, no, basta 120 days bago yung date ng election. Tapos na po yung registration activities. No? Pero bakit po hindi ito pinapakinggan ng Comelec? No? Bakit po kahit isang buwan lang ay hindi po natin mapagbigyan yung lahat po ng nananawagan para i-extend ang voter registration period? May we know, no, the position, or has the Comelec considered or reconsidered their decision to reject these petitions?
Comelec, who will respond to the question of Honorable Ilago?
Mr. Chair, seeing as how this has already been ruled upon by the Commission on Bank, I think the best person to respond to the question of Representative Ilago would be our Chairman Sheriff Abbas.
Chairman Abbas, please respond to the question of Honorable Ilago.
Yes, with your permission, Mr. Chair. We really acknowledge yung participation ng mga new registrants natin sa ngayon. Very active po sila. I would like to give you a historical background on the numbers of the registrants per 3 years. Sa aming data po, naglalaro lang po yan sa 1.5 to 2 million new registrants for 3 years. But ngayon po, umabot po yung new registrants ng 4.9 million. Doble po actually from the target. Ang target po namin is 4 million pero nag-exceed po siya ng 4.9 million. On the average ng aming mga new registrants, sabi ko nga 2 million yan, pero ngayon po 4.9. So masyadong mataas po yung turnout ng new registration. Okay? Doon naman po sa mga iba, umabot na rin po kami ng 9 million total registered for 3 years sa ngayon. Actually, mas marami siya. Record high ata siya for this year. Pandemic po, but yun po yung turnout ng registration. So, tama po yung observation ni Kong Ilago na talagang medyo mataas po yung moral ng mga tao na magparehistro ngayong pandemic. So ulitin ko po, sa new registrants, we already exceeded our target from 4 million to 4.9 million. Now on the extension po, we carefully decided this in the NBank at binalanse po namin yung preparation namin on the extension. We identified several major activities na pwedeng maapektuhan just in case we will extend. So from the preparation of the POP, yung aming project of precincts, yung mga preparation ng ating voting centers, isa-isa po namin because sa ngayon po yung may maraming mga eskwelahan na ginamit na isolation centers ng mga respective LGUs na kailangan naming bakantehin before the election, at least 3 months before the election, para magamit natin sa voting centers. So marami pong maapektuhan just in case we will extend it even for a week. Magkakaroon po ng domino effect doon sa aming preparation. Isa po dyan, yung hanggang printing ng balota, mag-exceed po kami sa aming target. So meron din po kaming deadline for the December 15 na dapat all set na lahat ng aming preparation. By December 15, dapat all set na. So kung mag-extend po kami ng registration, panibagong extension din po doon sa mga major activities na meron kami. So later, Your Honor, if you please, may I refer the following activities na pwedeng maapektuhan because of the extension to Director of the Barangay Affairs Department. Director Divine, with your indulgence, Mr. Chair, to discuss briefly yung mga pwedeng maapektuhan ng mga activities.
That's Divino Perez, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
Director Divino Perez.
Good morning to the Honorable Chairman of the Committee, other representatives present, our Honorable Chairman.
Director Divine Perez, you're
Permission.
recognized. Please respond.
With all due respect, Your Honors, extending the deadline beyond September 30, 2021 will compromise the following pre-election activities: the filing of certificate of candidacy, the last quarter election registration board hearing, preparation for the finalization of the project of precincts, which is the basis of all allocations of election forms, supplies, and other paraphernalia, installation of the EMS and loading of the electoral data, which has an immovable date of December 15, 2021. One time lang po kasi ang loading. At last day to file petition for inclusion, exclusions, testing and sealing of vote counting machines for overseas voting in selected posts and countries, finalization of the number of technical support personnel, finalization of the National Technical Support Center infrastructure, delay in the procurement of training manuals, delay in training schedule, delay in the printing of ballots. And since the overseas voting period begins 1 month before the election day in the Philippines, pursuant to the Overseas Voting Act of 2013, definitely it will be affected. And the deployment of all election equipment and materials and paraphernalia. That is all, Your Honors.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I may interject for a minute.
Yes, Chairman.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chair. After that consideration, Your Honor, nung binalanse po namin yung domino effect sa aming preparation, we heed also the call of the Congress and the Senate. In substitute, ginawa po namin extended voting as registration hours po. So from usual 8 to 5, ginawa namin 8 to 7. So sa ngayon, hanggang gabi po yung mga tao namin despite of the pandemic. Now, pangalawang ginawa namin, even holidays and Sabado, isang araw na lang po ang pahinga ng mga tao namin. So sa week. So just to cater yung kahilingan po ng aming honorable congressmen and the senators. And the last na pinakahuli po yung MECQ. So ngayon, kahit MECQ, open po kami sa NCR. So sa ngayon, dinagsana naman kami. Karamihan din po doon sa mga pumila is yung paghihingi ng certification. Oo, kasi sometimes yung ibang LGU humihingi ng certification. So ang ginawa namin, may special lane na just for registration. But per our information from our NCR director, the 80% nung pumipila ngayon sa MECQ sa NCR are requesting for certification at 20% lang po yung registration. So ito po yung mga sinubstitute po namin doon sa kahilingan ng ating mga mahal na congressmen na extension for 1 month. So humingi po kami ng dispensa sa ating mga mahal na House of Representatives sa pag-unawa po sana dahil nga po sa binalanse namin yung aming preparation for the presidential election. Labas po yung marami po kami ring iniingatan din po namin yung mga tao namin dahil marami rin po kaming mga casualty na. Marami na rin sa amin ng mga namatay because of this COVID. So balanse po yung aming decision. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Honorable Ilago, you may proceed.
Mr. Chair, una-una po, nakikiramay at dalawhati po tayo doon sa lahat ng ating mga manggagawa na nagtataguyod ng eleksyon at nandyan upang gumampan dun sa napakahalaga at kritikal na layunin na itaguyod ang demokrasya sa ating bayan at tiyakin na yung kapangyarihan ng pagpili sa ating mga susunod na leader ay mga tao. Kaya nga po, kinakailangan talagang pondohan na natin yung mga nararapat na benepisyo para po sa kanila. At yung panawagan naman po ng 1 month na extension, hindi lang po magbe-benefit doon sa mga hindi pa nakakapagparehistro, kundi mismo sa Comelec na imbes na isang araw lang po yung pahinga, ngayon mabibigyan po natin ng daan, yung ligtas, no, na pagsasagawa ng voter registration at the same time, yung ligtas din, no, na pagpaparehistro ng mga nais pang magparehistro. Ngayon, Mr. Chair, no, dahil may kasabay din po ito na budget delibs at limitado po ang ating oras, ang panawagan po ng kabataan, makausapin po natin yung mga nagpetisyon ng mga manggagawa, mga kabataan mula sa iba't ibang sektor. Hindi lang po ito kahilingan ng mga senador o ng mga kongresista, no, kundi ito po yung malawakan at malakas, no, na demand noong mga hindi po talaga pa kinakaya sa ngayon, no, dahil sa mga restrictions ng pandemic. At sa bahagi po ng kabataan, no, napakalaki po ng nakataya, no, dahil nakasalalay dito yung ating kinabukasan at ng mga susunod pang henerasyon. Kaya kasama niyo pong kabataan sa pagtataguyod ng karapatan sa pagboto. At bilang panghuli po, no, ng mga set of questions, so bago po ako magtapos, winelcome po namin yung effort ng pagla-launch ng app ng mobile registration form. Ang katanungan ko po ay ilan na ang nagparehistro dito o nag-fill out po ng mga reg form at yung actual sa monitoring nyo na nakapunta sa kanilang mga local Comelec offices at ngayon po ay registered na.
Mr. Chair, I would like to refer to Director Divina Blas Perez of the Election Barangay Affairs Department.
Director Divina Perez, please respond to the question of Honorable Ilago.
A total of 3,851,581 were approved by the Election Registration Board for the 2022 NLE as of the July 2021 Election Registration Board hearing. And we have pending applications already processed by the offices of the election officers, 1,013,160, all new registrants. In addition, we have 1,454,349 registered Sangguniang Kabataan voters extracted from the Sangguniang Kabataan database. Those who will turn 18 on May 2022 national and local elections.
Mr. Chair, mahingi po ang representasyon na ito ng detalye noong mga nag-accomplish po ng form nila via irehistro, no, at itong mobile registration form app ng Comelec at yung monitoring po nila nung actual na nakapunta sa mga local Comelec offices, no, para ma-check din po natin, no, yung gana, yung bisa ng paggamit nitong mga application na ito at yung online means, no, para sa voter registration. Gayon din, Mr. Chair, yung mga efforts naman po offline or on the ground ng Comelec, no, para sa voter education, dahil ang nakita po natin dito sa kanilang ulat, no, karamihan po ay online, isinigawa or via digital means, no, pero mainam po, no, kung makita rin natin at masilip po ng Kongreso na ito kung ano naman yung nasagawa na sa ating mga komunidad para dun sa mga walang access sa internet at sa iba pang means online. At bilang panghuli, Mr. Chair, no, ako din ay nakikiisa sa Comelec sa pagpapaalala sa ating mga kababayan na may 20 days na lang bago ang huling araw ng pagpaparehistro. At habang tinutulak po natin yung voter registration extension, kung kaya na po, no, sa inyong mga lugar, #magparehistro ka. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Maraming salamat, Honorable Ilago. Director Divina Perez, please take note of the request of Honorable Ilago for the report on the use of the different apps, no, for registration. Statistics, no, very important to see the effectiveness of those those apps. And now we proceed to our next interpolator. Of course, my colleague, Vice Chair Manix Dalipe. Vice Chair? Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. These proceedings of the Committee on Appropriations is being broadcast live through different media platforms. And a lot of people watching these proceedings have questions, queries. Sometimes they text us, and we, as representatives of our people, relay these questions to the agencies, to the departments that we are reviewing the budget right now. And today, Mr. Chairman, we are in the budget briefing of the Commission on Election. So meron lang po akong mga ilang katanungan that I would like to raise in this budget briefing of the Commission on Election, who will play a very important role next year. So I'd like to ask, especially to our good chairman of the Commission on Election, just a few clarificatory questions. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to direct the question to be answered by the chairman, Comelec Chairman Sheriff Abbas.
Please proceed, Vice
Chairman.
Chair. Please proceed.
Chairman Abbas, in a election period, kaninong policy guidelines ang mangingibabaw? Sa PNP ba or sa Comelec, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, with your indulgence, Mr. Chair. During the election period, Your Honors, we are asking for the deputation of the PNP and other government agency. So during this period, kami po yung policy po namin ang mangingibabaw.
Yes, I agree with that, Mr. Chairman. So that includes probably other agencies like the AFP and the others. Next question, Mr. Chairman, directed to Chairman Abbas. In a pandemic situation, which we are facing right now, which is the COVID-19 pandemic, kanino pong policy guidelines ang mangingibabaw? Sa Comelec ba or sa IATF, which was created through Executive Order 168? Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yes, Your Honor. Actually, this is the first time that we will conduct an election during a pandemic. And this is the first time also that we are coordinating with the IATF. On the major policy po during election, it is kami rin po, sa amin din po yung mangingibabaw. But as to health protocols, it should be the DOH and the IATF po.
Okay. So because it leads to me to my other questions. So Mr. Chairman, Chairman Abbas, who can vote in the upcoming May 9 national and local elections?
Pardon, Mr. Chair.
Yung tanong ko po, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Abbas, sino po pwede bumoto sa May 9 national and local election? Base po sa ating constitution, base po sa ating batas, sino po pwede bumoto?
Siyempre, yung mga Your Honor, yung mga registered voter na angkop yung kanilang edad at residente nung LGU na kung saan sila boboto.
So, klaro po. You have said that based sa ating batas, you have already stated who can vote. Now, in a pandemic situation, for clarification ng ating mga nanonood ngayon, to our fellow Filipinos, can the Comelec chairman state categorically, if a registered voter is tested positive of COVID, can that registered voter vote in the upcoming May 9 national and local election? Pwede po ba bumoto ang isang confirmed positive registered voter sa May 9 national and local election, Mr. Chairman?
O naman po, pwede po silang bumoto, but gagawan po namin ng paraan na magkaroon ng parang isolation center sa bawat polling centers. So ihiwalay po natin sila just in case they will be confirmed, and then doon natin sila pabobotohin doon sa isang isolation center.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that answer, Chairman Sheriff Abbas. Next question. Can a confirmed positive chairman of the BEI or mga member ng BEI, can they still man their precinct? Example, yung chairman ng BEI, na-test siya kasi nagka-close contact siya nung Friday, 3 days before the election, naging positive yung chairman ng BEI. Naging positive rin sa isang test, COVID test, yung mga members ng BEI. Can the chairman of the BEI, to include the members, still man their precinct during the May 9 national and local election?
Yes,
Mr.
Your
Chairman.
Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Hindi po. We will request for their substitution because iba po yung voter, iba din yung members ng election tellers natin. So to have a safe election, isa sa aming policy dyan is we will have a substitution para walang hawaan po sa isang presinto.
So, Mr. Chairman, it will still be Comelec who will have that upper hand over the IATF, which was created to Executive Order 168, who will still decide on these policy guidelines. Tama po ba, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, it is in the affirmative. So it is our policy, it is our resolution who will prevail. But of course, we will makikipag-ugnayan pa rin po kami with the IATF for the policy. Actually, meron na po kaming ugnayan. We have initial meetings with them. Pinapa-review po namin yung aming mga policy on health protocols. Just to be safe. But on the election day, it is the Comelec who will give the shot.
Yes, because there are although I still have other questions like what if hindi lang yung isang presinto, yung buong barangay nagkasobra-sobrang community transmission, so lahat ng BEI doon, lahat ng hindi lang yung chairman ng BEI but lahat sila nag-positive, handa ba yung Comelec to substitute? Kasi you cannot deny we are in a pandemic and there is community transmission. So guidelines to be set by Comelec during this COVID-19 pandemic, wherein a national and local election, a very important national and local election will be conducted, ay kailangan po maklaro sa taong bayan. So we appreciate the Commission on Election and we'd like to thank Chairman Abbas for those answers, but there's still questions that the Filipino people, especially the registered voters and those who will be running in the elections would like to ask. So anyway, Mr. Chairman, probably the appropriate committee, Committee on Suffrage can do on that. But as for now, I'd like to thank this representation of the 2nd Congressional District of Zamboanga. Would like to thank the Commission on Election for giving us at least the answers that have been lingering in our minds for the past months. So thank you, Comelec Chairman Sheriff Abbas. Thank you po yung sa ating mga Comelec na commissioners who are attending via Zoom and like to mention them one by one. Comelec Commissioner Rowena Guanzon, Comelec Commissioner Socorro Inting, Comelec Commissioner Antonio Co Jr., Comelec Commissioner Marlon Casquejo, Comelec Commissioner Aimee Perolino, and also those attending physically in this budget briefing of the Committee on Appropriation for the 2022 proposed budget of the Commission on Election. Maraming salamat po, Executive Director James Jimenez of Comelec, Director Chopisto Elnas Jr., Director Maria Lea Alarcon, Director Martin Niedo, si Chief Catherine Isip, and the others sa holding room ng Commission on Election. So yun lang po. I hope we can have clear guidelines, especially this is a very unique situation wherein we are conducting it still in a pandemic. So Mr. Chairman, unless you would still have a follow-up question, meron pa?
No more, Vice Chair.
Okay. So it will be, Mr. Chairman, an honor for this representation to move for the termination of the budget briefing of the Commission on Election. I move so, Mr. Chairman.
The motion, there's no any objection from the body, from the colleagues in the Zoom. Hearing none, the motion is carried. So the budget of Comelec is hereby, hearing is suspended. Thank you very